An important skill to develop when engaging with AI is prompting. However, if you're like me, it's much easier said than done in accomplishing that skill. Lucky for us, we don't have to rely on reinventing the wheel. Instead, we can borrow from some prompts that exist already. One of the methods I like to use is known as the brief method, originally developed by Joseph McCormick. However, it was adapted for use in AI education by the Mark Cuban Foundation. That is the foundation that I have been partnering with as part of a year-long teacher fellowship to learn some of these different skills. Moving over to this document, which helps you orient yourself around what exactly you should be providing to AI for it to provide a more personalized or tailored output that might be helpful to you. You can see under this example prompt that it walks you through how to incorporate the use of those different roles, the brief method, in prompting AI. However, I'm going to jump over to show you how the Mark Cuban Foundation has adapted this more specifically for this role of prompting in a lesson. So you can see that it just says that it's a copy and paste template that they made. So this is something you could develop on your own. Have your own template saved whenever you're trying to use this for lesson planning or lesson revision is what I like to think of it. So under the background, it says I'm a blank subject teacher with blank grade level students, so I would fill in that information. The role right there is written out as acting as an instructional coach. I like the fact that it says this right here. Feel free to push back if AI integration would just make the lesson more convenient without deepening what students actually learn. That pushback you're going to see in output a little bit, which is what I want to see happening, that it's not simply saying use AI for the sake of using AI. Then under input, you can see it provides a spot to provide your lesson, a brief description of it, and what students are doing currently, as well as some of the problems. By providing all of the different problems that maybe would come about in a lesson that you can think of, then you can just delete off the ones from your template whenever you go to make a copy of this and then upload it or copy it over, and that will save you a little bit of time in the long run. And then same thing under the thinking skills, you can see some of the different thinking skills that might be employed by the students and just delete off, again, the ones that don't apply. So you would develop your own list. You could even use AI to help you develop some of what that list might be. And then for the E in the brief acronym, ENGOAL, identify 2 to 3 specific moments in this lesson where student learning likely breaks down or stays shallow. What's great about that is it allows you to specifically say, here's what's not working in my lesson, help me fix it. And then under format, it says to keep it conversational, no jargon. Now let's look at what that looks like when we input it into ChatGPT or whatever model you're using. Under background, I specify that I'm a professional communications teacher working with 9th through 12th grade students. The role didn't change at all, so still acting as an instructional coach. But in inputting the lesson, this will give you a little bit of context. I gave it this lesson a group project. So it said students are divided into groups. Each group develops a team presentation over one topic area about a workplace specific topic, with each group member tackling a different subtopic. For example, the group topic may be employment, and a student's subtopic might be navigating the online job search or preparing for the job interview. They create a slide deck together, and each group member gives their portion of the team presentation, sharing responsibilities like the introduction and conclusion. I list off the problems that I saw, as well as thinking skills that could be meaningfully addressed. And then under end goal, I said, students sometimes disengage from the project because they don't know how to find quality research. Almost no one has a job yet, and they struggle with good design elements for the presentation slides. So those are the things that I've noticed myself. The rest of the prompt was already there and copied over. So here's the output that it gives me. It says, first, that the students don't know how to find quality research, that aspect that I pointed out to it. It said that this is a good place for AI, but not as a search engine. So that's a pushback that I really like. It encourages me to have students challenge AI instead. So they could go to AI and ask something like, give me advice for job interviews. And then the advice that it gives them, go and fact check it outside of AI. What I love about this is it is teaching an actual skill that the student should be employing when using AI. I teach the skill of lateral reading in my classes. It's something that I learned from a professional development previously, which just means that when you read something in one spot, go read it somewhere else to ensure that other research supports this and it doesn't just exist here. So that lateral reading serves as a check on it. Keep in mind that there are things like hallucinations that need to be considered. There may be advice that comes out of this that you wouldn't necessarily advise. The students could engage with you as a thought partner as well. And that really is what this is. AI is a thought partner. Their teacher is a thought partner. the people around them are thought partners. And so they're just looking at this as another tool in helping them get to that final product. So I like this idea. Then I'll jump down a little bit and point out to you where it says that they disengage or go through the motions, that issue. It says AI can make this worse if it becomes a shortcut. Instead, use it to create productive confusion is the term it uses. Give them a messy or even slightly flawed AI-generated outline and ask what's missing. It's having the students identify it and not just relying on the AI output to identify it for them. The idea of slide design, I've talked about slide design in some of these other tutorials or design elements in general, but it points out that if AI just generates the slides for them, it does kill thinking, and so that is a concern to have. Instead, you could provide them, as it mentions, with one cluttered slide and one clean slide, so similar to what I was saying under the last one, and having them critique it with the rubric. You could even show them how to prompt in order to change that slide over time. What I love about each of these suggestions that are coming about is it's not saying just go to AI and let that be your starting point. What was an eye-opener for me in all of this was that AI doesn't have to just be the starting point. It can be the second point, it can be the third point, it can be however many points on the line. We don't have to start with AI. We can start somewhere else. We can do our brainstorming, we can develop ideas, we can develop products, and then go to AI to critique it by uploading a rubric, that rubric that I would be using, and then get personalized feedback and make changes based on that. This really did serve as that eye-opening moment for me. Hopefully it does for you too. I'll leave you by mentioning that this brief method is not the only method for prompting AI for educators. If you would simply search for AI prompting templates online, there are plenty out there that are already made, and then you can certainly, over time, develop your own library of templates that work for you. For me, I like looking at AI not so much from the lesson planning stage necessarily, but I've seen a lot of success with this lesson revision stage, getting me to think about things I otherwise wouldn't have come across. Hopefully, this gives you some ideas and a starting point for yourself as well.